Hi people, it's me, Anja. My pronouns are she, her, and welcome back to my channel. Before we get into these books, please don't forget to donate to Palestine, because that is of utmost importance right now. So anyway, this video is dedicated to books with alternating timelines, because if there's one thing that I discovered about my reading last year, is that I really enjoy books with alternating timelines, so I decided to dedicate an entire video to it. The first book on this list is called The Blackboard Goals. This book is a middle grade historical fiction book, and it's set in 1941 and 1986 because there are three perspectives. Two of them follow two young girls in 1986 right after the Chernobyl disaster, and one of them follows the grandmother of one of the girls in 1986, but during her timeline as a young girl in 1941 during World War II. I don't know if that made any sense, but essentially there are three perspectives, and two of them are set during 1986, and then the third one is set during 1941. Basically, this story is so good. All three characters are such well-developed, distinct characters, and I really liked how all three of them are connected to each other, because all of the perspectives and all of the timelines blended well together, and I really enjoyed it because it made for such an intriguing story. First of all, I really enjoyed the history in the story because it was done so well. Prior to the story, I had little to no knowledge about the Chernobyl disaster, so I really enjoyed reading about it and just really learning about it, because the Chernobyl disaster is really a hidden piece of history that more people should learn about, quite honestly, because it impacted so many people. You know what I mean? So anyway, this story is so well done, and I really enjoyed it because I enjoyed all of the characters. The plot was so intriguing and it was so thrilling. The history was so informative and it was so educational, and the story is so good. So with that, I highly recommend it. The next book on this list is also halfway set during World War II, and it is The Papal Girl of Paris. This story is YA historical fiction, and it has two alternating timelines, one in modern day and one during World War II, like I said before. It's set in modern day as well because it follows Alice, who's investigating her grandmother's past, because her grandmother left behind an apartment that she and her family had no idea about, so they traveled to Paris to figure out what's up. So that's fun. This book is so good. I really enjoyed how the two perspectives and the two timelines worked well together, because there was never a point in time where I preferred one perspective over the other, because I really enjoyed how they worked together so well. This author is so talented, and her next book comes out the day that I'm filming this, and it's called Don't Breathe the World. And I've probably already read it by the time that you're watching this video, but at any rate, The Papal Girl of Paris was so good, because I really enjoyed how the timelines and the different perspectives worked well together, and they both made for such well-developed, distinct characters, and the plot was so thrilling and it was so intriguing, and this book is so good. I personally really enjoyed it, so with that, I would highly recommend it. The next book on this list is a book that I read somewhat recently, because the first two books on this list were books that I read last year, and it is Pulp by Robin Talley. This book is so good. It's also set partially during modern day, because the two alternating timelines in this book are set during modern day in 1955, and it follows two queer teens who are both connected by a lesbian pulp novel. This book is so good. This author is so talented at writing queer historical fiction books, and her previous book, Music from Another World, is the book that prompted me to read more queer historical fiction books, because honestly, I need to read so much more. So anyway, Pulp is one of the books that I decided to pick up because it's written by the same author, and it's just as good. This book is so good. I really enjoyed how the author connected both timelines and both characters, because I just really enjoyed it. This book is so good. It's definitely worth all of its hype and so much more, because I really enjoyed it. It was done so well. I really enjoyed learning about the queer history in 1955 and how honestly not much has changed in modern day, and I just really enjoyed it. Both characters were done so well, because they made for such distinct, well-developed characters. The plot was so intriguing and it was so thrilling. Both settings were developed so well. This author is so talented. Her books are literally so good, and all of them are so distinct, and her books deserve all the hype and so much more. So with that, I would highly recommend not only this book, but all of her books previously that I've read before. So yeah. The next book on this list is called Truly Devious. This book is a YA thriller mystery, and the alternating timelines in this book are more 75-25, so I almost didn't include it in this video because the alternating timelines in the previous books in this list are more 50-50. But at any rate, this book is really good, and I do highly recommend it. So if you didn't know, like I said, this book is a YA thriller, and it's really good. It follows Stevie Bell in modern day, who's determined to solve the cold case that has to do with the founder of the boarding school that she is going to. So in the 20th century, when the founder of the boarding school founded this school, shortly afterwards his wife and his daughter were kidnapped, and nobody has found them. And since this story is set a century later, or I think it's more than a century later, but anyway, it's determined as a cold case, and Stevie Bell, the protagonist of this book, is determined to solve it. However, while she's doing that, a murder happens, so it's kind of like history is repeating itself, but not quite. So yeah. At any rate, this book is really good. I don't know if my explanation of the synopsis really made any sense, but this book is really good. The plot is so thrilling and it's so intriguing. Stevie is such a wonderful intellectual character, and I love her so much. I'm so excited to read from her voice again when The Box in the Woods comes out in the next 2 weeks, if I'm not mistaken, because she is such a wonderful, well-developed, distinct detective character, and I love her. The mystery element of this book is done so well. Like I said, the plot is so thrilling and it's so intriguing, and this book is so good. The sequels were also really good as well. Like I said, this book is technically the first book in a trilogy, but the fourth book, which is coming out in the next 2 weeks, is technically more of a spin-off than a direct sequel. So technically there are 4 books in this series. I wonder how many more times I'm going to say the word technically. But anyway, this book is really good, and I do highly recommend it, even though my review for this story is kind of all over the place. So yeah. The next book on this list is called The Parkour Inheritance. This book is a middle-grade historical fiction story following a girl in modern day who's trying to solve a puzzle that leads her to the past. This book is so good. First of all, I should be reading more books that are historical fiction that star a black person, because historical fiction is so often whitewashed, because history itself is so often whitewashed, which honestly is so annoying as a person of color myself. I love reading about books with characters who look like me, so reading this book about a black person by a black author who really went into the racism that has happened throughout the past that still continues to happen in modern day was so refreshing, and it really made the story so much more timely and important and necessary and insightful and educational and informative. This book is so good, and it's so underrated, and for what? The plot was so intriguing and it was so thrilling. The writing was so well done. I'm so excited to read this author's next book, which I believe comes out in October of this year, if I'm not mistaken. At any rate, this book is so good, and it's so underrated because it's absolutely so awesome. So with that, I would highly recommend it. So in conclusion, I really enjoy reading books with alternating timelines, so I really enjoyed making this video. If you enjoyed this video too, please don't forget to give it a big thumbs up, donate to Palestine, comment down below the butterfly emoji if you made it all the way to the end of the video. Thanks for watching, subscribe to my channel if you're new, and I'll see you in my next video. Bye!